2020 is here, and are you making changes in your life? Well, if you're thinking about going vegan or looking at the paleo diet, going all natural, I have a product just for you.
That salad's totally grossing me out. I've completely lost my appetite.
Plugin of the week. Today we are looking at the Altiverb 7 by Audio Ease. This is a non-GMO, dairy-free, kosher reverb plugin using all natural impulse responses in real rooms just like this. Let's take a look. All right, we're taking a look at Altiverb, one of the greatest plugins when it comes to reverb. This is a very standardized plugin that you're gonna find in a lot of major recording studios, post houses, and tons of producers use this plugin. It's not a cheap plugin, but it's one of the best plugins, and I'm about to show you why, basically. This plugin basically uses impulse responses from some of the greatest spots in the world, whether it's recording studios, religious spaces, stadiums, even down to the inside of a van and different models of Toyotas and Hondas, just so you can get that perfect sound if you're doing post or if you're working on a record and you want to take something that you recorded in a small booth and make it sound like you recorded it in a huge hall. Without going too deep into it, let's just take a look. When you're looking at the plugin, if you just go ahead and click this little pretty picture here, you can start to go into some of the different impulse responses in here. If you go to studio and scoring, you can see I'm on the 20th Century Fox out here in LA. It's a scoring stage. And you can start to see the lengths of the reverb. So this is 2.6, 2.7. Right here is kind of the mono section, if you can see. So if you need a mono reverb, you have that option, and then the stereo one's up there. But yeah, it has a lot of great recording studios. SARM, I mean, you can just read this here. Westlake, also here in LA. You have Teledex, I use this one a lot. Berlin, you can read all this stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of great recording studios. Their live rooms, their echo chambers, like this Jet Studios one I use a lot. I like this echo chamber, it's really nice. To get out of recording studios, you have concert halls. You know, here's Disney Hall, speaking of LA again. So this is Disney Hall, great sounding reverb for strings, all sorts of stuff. So if you're working on some big string orchestral pieces and you really need to have it feel like it's humongous, this is kind of the go-to section. You have the Sydney Opera Hall, very famous, and you can start to see how long these reverbs are. 4.8 seconds. That's getting on the longer end of reverbs. Just think about if you're counting seconds in your head, and just think about that in reverb time. That's pretty long. Yeah, those are the concert halls, religious centers. You can start to see how many options you start to have. You have some mosques here. You have St. Joseph's Cathedral, you have Notre Dame Cathedral, you have these huge spaces, and they're getting pretty big too. Right around the 4.5 seconds. This is 2 seconds. This is 10 seconds at Notre Dame. So yeah, they get really, really humongous, and it gets even bigger. You got stadiums, you got, what do you have here? You got the Wembley Stadium in London. That's 12 seconds. These are really long reverbs. We're gonna start to listen to some of these. Mausoleums, you have the Great Pyramids of Giza here at 13.2 seconds. You know, let's just listen to this stuff. Let's listen to this craziness while I have it up. That might be overdoing it just a little bit, to be completely honest. Just listen, it's still going, it's still reverberating. But you know, if I wanted to be a little bit more realistic, sure, we could use a concert hall. Let's do Disney Hall, like I was talking about. I have an acoustic guitar here, but this plugin is just about great on everything from vocals to strings to horns to whatever you want to throw at it, this plugin is going to make it sound amazing. And it just has to do because it has very natural sound. A lot of digital reverbs have like this really hissy, sharp, high-endy reverb that is very unnatural to humans. And when you have this kind of mid-range to low-mid, long reverb that is not as perfect, the imperfections is what makes it sound real. So to keep talking about this stuff, I just want to play you through some of these great responses here. So I ended up using this Jet Studios reverb on the actual record. So check it out. I didn't use it in that amount. I honestly turned it to -10, which is what I had it at before. Stay wide awake, try to get up now. Wide awake, try to stay up now. Might be the end, my dear friend. Is this the end? Stay wide awake, try to get up now. Wide awake, try to stay up now. Might be the end, my dear friend. Is this the end? So I'm going to show you what reverb I used on his vocals too, because I use Altiverb on vocals. It sounds great. I'm just going to solo his hook. Stay wide awake, try to get up now. Wide awake, try to stay up now. So another part of what's included, a section called gear. And in this section, you have all sorts of pieces of reverb units, such as the BX15, the BX10. These are very famous spring reverbs that are used on guitars all the time if you need the spring reverb sound. It has some of the most famous reverbs, the EMT140, which it was used in Abbey Road Studios on the Beatles records. These reverbs are plate reverbs. These are pieces of hardware. If you can see, that's what I'm using, is a plate reverb on his voice. And these are very famous pieces. They are some of the most modeled plugins, but why bother modeling when you have an actual impulse response? And they have multiple EMT 140s all in different conditions, and you can kind of mix and match and find which one sounds the best for your vocal. Some of the other gear pieces they have is the very famous Lexicon 480L. So this 480L is obviously not these are impulse responses from the 480L, but the 480L is a digital reverb. So this digital reverb is being sampled, and you have all their amazing presets in there too. 224L as well. You have Fender Super Reverb, more spring reverb options, and just beyond that, to show you the complete depth of what you have here, let's go into cars. So you have all sorts of cars. Let's pick out the Honda Element and hear the vocal inside the Honda Element and see, just to show you, in a post situation, how this would sound. And then, in fact, I'm going to actually take some of the effects off of his voice just so we can hear just the reverb. Wide awake, try to get up now. Wide awake, try to stay up now. Might be the end, my dear friend. Is this the end? Stay wide awake, try to get up now. Wide awake, try to stay up now. So obviously there's a little bit of his actual room in there for where Johnny recorded, as well as that being sent through Honda. You can get some really cool tones. So sometimes you may not want a huge mausoleum sound for your record, and you want something a little more personal. They have some really great small spaces here too. You have some small clubs if you're doing kind of live material. Let's try some of these out. Wide awake, try to get up now. Wide awake, try to stay up now. Might be the end, my dear friend. Is this the end? So this Misc section actually has different houses and different small areas. And this is also really cool if you're trying to, go for like a personal vibe, like I was saying. So let's just take a listen to some of these attics, living rooms, ballrooms, stuff like that. So. Wide awake,
Try to get up now, wide awake, try to stay up now. Might be the end, my dear friend, is this the end?
So that's like someone's attic. I'm gonna try a living room, why not?
Wide awake, try to get up now, wide awake, try to stay up now. Might be the end.
So yeah, also within this plugin, you can put your own impulse responses if you know how to do that. It's basically putting a speaker at one end and then some microphones at another, and doing a test tone, or doing even with this they'll use like a cap gun, to help reverberate the room and really measure that response. But yeah, you can load in your own impulse responses, and they have a ton of different options here to change those impulse responses. You can make them longer.
Wide awake, try to get up now, wide awake, try to stay up now. Might be the end, my dear friend, is this the end? Stay wide awake.
So that's me just bending the impulse response to make it longer, and the reverb time longer, as well as the size.
Wide awake, try to get up now, wide awake, try to stay up now.
So as you can see, there's a lot of options here. You can really go crazy with this and make the best, most perfect reverb for whatever you're doing. I'm gonna go ahead and open up, let's put him back into the Jet Studios that I had originally.
Wide awake, try to get up now, wide awake, try to stay up now. Might be the end, my dear friend, is this the end? Stay wide awake, try to get up now, wide awake, try to stay up now.
So another really cool part about this reverb is that you have this thing called the positioner, and you can turn it on here, and you can move the position within the room where you would want him. So you were wondering, what is this for? So this is if you have a band, you can start moving people within the stereo image of the impulse response of the reverb. So this is very important on things like orchestra, where you're trying to seat the violins on one side, or if you're doing a brass section and you have, say the trumpet on the left and the saxophones on the right, or any sort of positioning needs that you have, you can do it within the plugin.
Wide awake, try to get up now, wide awake, try to stay up now.
So there's a little bit of depth there, and then it's, you can put him in the 3D space and then start to put other things in different parts of the 3D space the more you open Altiverbs. So that is an awesome option that comes with this plugin. And yeah, there's so many more things that you can do, but I just wanted to kind of give an overview. Obviously, there's the EQ section, I/O section, mix section. You can start to play with the attack, pre-delay, stuff like that. Just basic, your basic reverb options that you get in a normal reverb. But yeah, this is Altiverb, and it's definitely something for a serious engineer who needs to have a very competitive mix. It's not a cheap plugin. You can find the pricing online. Honestly, this is one of those things that you invest in and that you have for the rest of your career. Competes with some of the greatest reverbs in the world, if not the most widely accessible reverb, because a lot of those other reverbs may be hardware units or physical reverbs like a plate reverb, and those things take a lot of maintenance and time, and most studios are using plugins just like this to achieve that. All right, guys, so that's the tutorial overview. You guys need to go like, comment, blow us up. We're gonna keep dropping plugin of the weeks, and you gotta stay in tune with what's going on. I have some really cool stuff coming up that I wanna show you. Things that we use all the time on client projects, are go-tos, things that you wanna buy and you wanna know about and you wanna know how to use. So check us out and stay tapped in.